We're back. We are back. Okay, guys, I was not planning on talking about Ethan Klein tonight. I covered him yesterday. I was looking forward to covering Pete Buttigieg talking about how we are just in a straight up authoritarian nightmare with Donald Trump sending in the military and federalizing the National Guard in DC and saying that he's going to do it to other cities and other states in this country too. Um, it's not good on the Trump situation. But then this fucking freak can't help himself from not only doubling down on attacking Anna Kasparian, but also justifying the Nakba, apparently, and spreading misinformation, essentially downplaying the true tragedy and horror that happened in the real first large scale Palestinian ethnic cleansing that Zionists did in historic Palestine. So what the fuck, man? What the fuck am I supposed to do? This guy, his podcast is losing subscribers, thankfully, on a daily basis, but he's still getting over 100,000 views every episode, and he's just spreading genocidal propaganda while there's a genocide going on. Like, it's one fucking thing if he's just another neo-Nazi being like, less than 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, or making edgy jokes about that. But while there's an active genocide going on, and he's one of the biggest fucking podcasters on the entire platform, what else am I going to do? I have to cover this shit. It's so ridiculous. Like, once again, man, we are in the midst of a full-scale ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Um, Israel, Gaza takeover. Like, literally, as we speak, day by day, Israel is bombing the Palestinians in Gaza. They're ethnically cleansing the Palestinians out of the West Bank. And it's getting so bad that you have countries that have been fundamentally supporters of Israel now being like, we're going to, like Keir Starmer in the UK said, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. If you keep doing this genocide, we're going to recognize it, which is the most meaningless pushback ever. But it's so bad that people that, don't want Palestinians to be recognized as real human beings are now actually pushing back against this. So we can take a look at some of the news here. Gaza takeover is necessary for victory. Hey, what's going on, Noah? Israel's plan to expand its operations to capture and occupy Gaza City have drawn severe condemnation. So Australia is recognizing a Palestinian statehood in September. And then you had Germany's Merz defense partial weapons halt to Israel. Like, I love how tepid all of this is. Even Australia. Oh yeah, we're going to recognize this in 3 months from now because there's still going to be a Palestine 3 months from now. Like, yeah, Israel's far right pushes for decisive win against Hamas. And he's saying that it's failing to go harder on Hamas. And he says that they chose to do more of the same rather than the whole of the Palestinian enclave. So he's just advocating for taking out the entire Palestinian enclave. Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, was not seeking a decisive victory, but rather to apply limited pressure on Hamas. So he's like, we need even more pressure on Hamas. He claims we're not going to occupy Gaza, but he also says that his plan relies on ethnically cleansing Gaza of Palestinians. So it's just like out of both sides of his mouth. This is the context where Ethan Klein decides it's a good day to defend the first full-scale ethnic cleansing that Israel did. While Israel's doing an ethnic cleansing, this guy is defending another ethnic cleansing that they did. Like, the Nakba never actually ended. The Nakba never actually ended, and he's defending it right now, while it's at its worst point since the 1948 version of it. One thing that I wanted to listen to before we get into this, I don't know if I can find it, but PR the world. It's just so funny. They're like playing these Israeli stories, and they're like, Oh yeah, there's protests against the war that's going on in Israel, and also, okay, this is not up to date. There's protests going on in Israel, and like it's just so hard to live in as an Israeli right now because the bombs in Gaza, if you're close enough to Gaza, they can really keep you up at night. Like that's what they said in the fucking NPR um, article that they played. It was so funny on the news. They're like, being an Israeli sucks because you can't even get a full night's sleep. Okay. All right. Let's just get into this though. So this is what I wanted to talk about though. Actually, before we get into this, so we have this discussion mega thread, and I want to just lay the groundwork for this because the title of this stream is Ethan Klein fans finally turn on him because of his war crime apologia, and we have this shit. So you have this thread that his fans made, and you have a comment with 93 likes where it says Ethan is very wrong about the Nakba. It wasn't done after the Arab army's invasion. Um, it started months before it. If anything, the Arab armies used the Nakba as a casus belli for their invasion. It has also had nothing to do with the Arab countries telling the Palestinians they can leave in return. The vast majority of Palestinians fled because they were genuinely fearful for their lives after the Zionists committed massacres. Ethan underestimates how hard live political commentary and history telling is. I don't think he's trying to excuse what happened, but spreading misinformation on something so sensitive is not good, especially when so many people are waiting for him to slip up. Like, I love how if Ethan gets called out for his behavior, it's actually the fault of the people that are calling him out because he just slipped up. If he says the N word, oh, like Ethan, you shouldn't say that. You just love Kendrick Lamar too much. If he does war crime apologia and downplays the tragedy of the Nakba, oh, he just slipped up and now he's like giving ammunition to everyone that's going to criticize him. Maybe if every day, if every episode he does multiple things that you feel embarrassed about him doing, you should also be criticizing him and you shouldn't be a supporter of Ethan Klein. Frankly, I think Ethan should not do historical content on complicated topics. Like, I love how Ethan has fashioned himself as some kind of warrior of truth telling, and he's going to use his mighty sword of reality to smite down Hassan, to smite down Denims, to smite down Frogan, to he's going to take a flaming brand and blow Sam Cedar away, completely knock Matt Lieb to the side with his truth, his historical knowledge, his facts, his prep, his research. And then you have his fans being like, I don't think Ethan should do historical content on complicated topics anymore. Like, dude, your audience thinks you're a moron, and that's because you are. Like, I refer to the H3 fans that are still watching Ethan as cultists, as bots, as people that are just worshiping their favorite podcaster. But I gotta give them credit, man. If they're like, I actually just want to watch Ethan because he's shitting on Hassan and because he's like a funny lol cow, but I don't think he should do complicated historical issues anymore. His fans are smarter than him. His fans are actually, at least these people that are commenting here are smarter than him. And the downside is there's going to be people smarter than Ethan on these historical issues that are going to comment and try to correct the misinformation. But there's also going to be the vast majority of people in this audience are not going to know anything about the Nakba, and they're not going to know anything about the multitude of historical issues that Ethan Klein talks about and spreads misinformation on. And then they're going to come away with the wrong impression. They're going to come away with the impression that the Palestinians are on equal footing with the Israelis. I saw a post today that basically said that what's going on in Ukraine is a genocide, and that's just as bad, if not worse, than what's going on in Gaza. And that just betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of these issues. It betrays the idea that he's not doing a good job of educating his audience, and his efforts to downplay the genocide and the brutality and the one-sided nature of what's happening in Gaza has been successful, unfortunately. And that really just makes me sad, because you have this audience, still hundreds of thousands of people that watch Ethan Klein, that think he's the smartest guy when it comes to historical context and political analysis. And they think that the genocide going on in Gaza is just another military skirmish between two equally powerful countries. It's really just like a disservice Ethan's doing to humanity with the content that he's putting out there. I don't think I don't think it's anything new that Ethan is insanely biased regarding this issue. Yeah, he literally said, he's like, "Don't you think it would be easy for me and Ela to be against genocide? But we're Israelis." You're just like, you're pro-genocide because you're Israelis? Talk about a bigotry of low expectations. That's the same fucking anti-Semitism that Jonathan Greenblatt did in yesterday's stream, where he's like, Jewish people need to be able to genocide Palestinians in order to have equal rights as Palestinians. I don't think Jewish people need to genocide in order to have like a good and stable life and have self-determination. I think that's a pretty defamatory of you to say. Okay. At what point is there shade, though? He's been doing a lot of hand waving at points he doesn't like, and it got personal with Cedar when he wasn't expecting pushback, and now Cedar is an enemy of the show, lol. Today he showed a story he posted with blatantly Islamophobic tweet, saying Muslims are doing all the killing in the world, and quickly breezed past that part to continue using it in his argument. God damn, dude, these people are doing my job for me. Holy shit. Ethan's getting his asshole ripped apart by his own audience. Claiming the Arab army is attacked because of the Nakba and not because a Jewish state went against their plans for a pan-Arab nation is just pure historical revisionism. I mean, yeah, basically it's like Arab states did not attack causing the Nakba, which is, I mean, we'll get into this. Let's get into this now, and then go back to some of these comments. So before
Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota, thank you so much.
Maybe this is...
Before we get into this, let's play a transcript of Ilan Pappé testifying about the Nakba. So he's a historian. He's written books about this subject. I think he's a good person to give us a baseline of information.
Let me begin by this organization where we are, the United Nations. In February 1947, the United Nations appointed the United Nations Special Committee of Palestine, UNSCOP, with 13 member states who knew very little about Palestine, and most of them have never been there before. Maybe this is one of the reasons that they totally misunderstood either the Palestinian position of the United Nations involvement or the general the Arab League position on the Palestine question. All around the Arab world, there were mandatory countries such as Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, waiting for their independence. That was supposed to come through a democratic vote by the people living in those countries to decide the future and character of the liberated new Arab state. Only in Palestine, the very idea that the Palestinians would decide what is the future of Palestine was not accepted by the United Nations. Instead, it suggested that the settler movement of Zionism, most of these settlers came just a few years before to Palestine, that they would have the right to participate in negotiation over the future of Palestine. And even before the United Nations adopted its resolution 181 through the General Assembly on the 29th of November 1947, even before that resolution that gave the settler colonial movement of Zionism more than half of the country, even before that, the Palestinians demanded from the United Nations a far longer process of negotiation so as to explain to them why their rights of self-determination are being denied by the international organization.
So I believe the first declaration that he's referring to was going to give half of historic Palestine to the Israeli settlers, to the Jewish settlers that settled Palestine, when they made up like a quarter of the population. So absolutely ridiculous terms for that contract, and rightfully the Palestinians rejected that. Yeah, we are going to watch that later. So that's kind of the basis for this. Balfour Declaration gave half of the Palestinian land to the settlers and to the Jewish settlers, and the Palestinians rejected that idea. Rightfully so.
The American delegation, one should say, in February 1948 suggested 5-year trusteeship over Palestine, which was accepted by the Palestinians in order to give the additional 5 years for negotiating a far more just idea for the future of Palestine. However, under pressure of the Jewish lobby in the United States, President Truman withdrew the American support for the trusteeship trusteeship agreement. In February 1948, the forces of the Jewish community in Palestine began, regardless of what was happening here in the United Nations, began a process that I called in my book in 2007 of ethnically cleansing the Palestinians. In April 1948, most of the Palestinian population that lived in Palestinian towns, or the mixed Arab-Jewish towns of Palestine, were expelled or forced to leave. And we are talking about more than 150,000 Palestinians who lived in the urban space of Palestine who became refugees even before the British Mandate of Palestine on the 15th of May ended.
So we had ethnic cleansing beginning in November 1947 through violent clashes between Palestinians and the settlers, beginning the ethnic cleansing. At that point, a lot of Palestinians did flee the area to try to escape the violence, with the full expectation that once the violence was over, they would be able to return to their homes. And then in April of 1948, the full-scale ethnic cleansing of Palestinians began. That's kind of the timeline of events, and I think that's important to understand. It really started, the violence and ethnic cleansing started in 1947, and you had a slow ramp up into early 1948 when it began like a full-scale ethnic cleansing in earnest of Palestinians.
These expulsions from the city were accelerated by acts of massacres, the most known of them, the massacre of Deir Yassin on April the 9th, 1948. So even before the Arab League decided to send military forces in order to try and save the Palestinians on May the 15th, 1948, 250,000 Palestinians were already refugees. And the presence of these refugees in...
So we have this, like, and we can write it down. Before, on May 15th, when the League of Arab Nations actually decided to declare war against Israel, there were already 150,000 Palestinian refugees.
The Arab world forced the Arab governments to do something, although most of them were quite reluctant to participate in any kind of military adventure in Palestine. While the Israeli forces, we should call them now the Israeli forces after the establishment of the State of Israel on May the 15th, 1948, while the Israeli forces were fighting against these contingents from the Arab world, the ethnic cleansing of Palestine continued. The Palestinian villages in the middle of Palestine, in the south, in the north, were all exposed to a tactic that was already articulated by the Jewish forces in a plan that was adopted on the 10th of March, 1948. The plan described exactly how the Palestinian villages should be encircled, forced to leave, or evicted by force should this flight not happen. The worst chapter in the Nakba came in October 1948 during the operation that the Israelis called the Hiram operation in the north of Galilee. Even some of the leaders of the Jewish community themselves wrote in their diaries that what the Israelis did in October 1948 was not very different from what the Nazis did in the Second World War. This operation was the toughest because the Palestinians already knew what awaited them, and they were putting a tough resistance, which led to a list of war crimes and atrocities that completed the ethnic cleansing in Palestine. So within 9 months, half of Palestine's population was expelled, half of Palestine's villages were demolished, and most of the Palestinian towns were wiped out. The Israelis already in August 1948 began an operation that I call memoricide, in order to wipe out any residue and remnant of the Palestinian existence in Palestine. They built Jewish colonies and settlements over the destroyed Palestinian villages, quite often giving them a Hebrew name that resembled the Arab name of the village. Thus, Safaria became Tzipori, Lubia became Lavi, and so on. The idea was to say that these were actually ancient biblical places, and therefore this was not a destruction of village, but rather the redemption and the return to the villages.
This is Ilan Pape, and he's giving us a historical analysis of the Palestinian Nakba. One that is not a blatant propaganda attempt to try to defend what Israel's doing.
Other villages, the Israeli planted forests. The Israelis imported 10,000 pine trees from Europe to cover the Palestinian villages that were destroyed in the catastrophe of 48. I can tell you, as a second generation of European settler, that we don't do well in the climate of the Middle East, and the same happened to the pine trees of Israel. Many of them became very ill, and where they died, the old orchards and olive trees came back to claim their presence on the land that used to be Palestine and Arab. Let me conclude by saying that I think that any peace process that ignores what happened in 1948, and the peace process so far had totally ignored what happened in 1948, would have at least to rely on three principles, which I call the three A's. A, for acknowledgement. It's quite amazing how even the top negotiators in the world who deal with Palestine do not acknowledge the catastrophe of 1948. The second is A, is accountability. Acknowledged by itself is useless, as we know, in post-apartheid South Africa. And the only way to make Israel accountable for the ethnic cleansing of 1948, which is a crime against humanity, is to allow the unconditional implementation of Resolution 194 of the United Nations General Secretary, how do you call it? General Assembly, thank you, Riyadh. General Assembly resolution sanctioning the unconditional return of the Palestinian refugees to their homeland. And the last A is acceptance. I think that once there is acknowledgement, and when there is accountability, not only for the crimes of 48, but for the ongoing crimes since 1948, then the Israelis can ask both the Palestinians and the Arab world to accept them as an organic part of Palestine, of the Arab world, of the Middle East, and be part of its problems and its solutions. Thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, I loved how he ended this interview because it really demonstrates the direct line between the Nakba in 1948, the first full-scale ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, literally like really ramped up the day after Israel got independence from the British, and how connected that is to what we are seeing now, where even now the idea that Palestinians have any kind of historical right to live in the land of Israel, are real people, they have a history there, that has all been denied. And if you deny that they have a history in the land of, that's now Israel, in the land of historic Palestine, it makes it that much easier to treat them as some kind of infestation that must be eliminated from the region. Treat them as a nomadic group that you can just push out of the way and say that Egypt can take them, that Lebanon can take them. If you deny the history of the Palestinians, you deny their origin, their claim to the land, their right to live there, just as much as the Jewish people that live in Israel have a right to live there. And in fact, like, they need to have reparations and the right to return to live in their historical homeland. Then it becomes that much easier to justify the genocide and ethnic cleansing that is going on right now to this day. So when you see Ethan Klein talking about, and we haven't even gotten to it yet, but when you see Ethan Klein saying that the Nakba was justified because the fucking Arab countries invaded Israel, and so the Palestinians were like a casualty of that war, it's a direct continuation of the type of logic that is now being used to justify the genocide we're seeing right now. Like 60 years later, it's fucked up, man. So we'll get into what Ethan Klein has to say now. So we can, like, yeah, like you even see Al Jazeera posting this video 2 months ago. They're trying to complete the Nakba through their actions in Gaza. It's a direct continuation, the exact same tactics, the exact same logic. One is being used to justify and kind of whitewash the other. If there was no original Palestinian villages, then we can kick them out, right? They have no historical ties to the land. It's the Israelis, it's the Jews that have the tie to the land there, according to Zionists and Zionism. So let's get into this. David Dobrik expose, Todd tells all. Okay, so let's start on this. We're going to have a little bit of a dumb drama where Ethan is continuing to attack Anna Kasparian, but once again, it is relevant when he's highlighting and promoting just like blatantly Islamophobic tweets and maligning Anna Kasparian as a anti-Semite with no real evidence whatsoever.
Actually, I have some. I got into a war with Anna Kasparian. Who's the
Ethan looking extremely healthy and fit here, the epitome of a young father that is going to be there for his kids. Dude, he actually looks like a Doc Holliday when he was dying of consumption.
Co-host of the Young Turks, Cenk, Hassan's great benefactor uncle who gave him his career. Actually, it's just kind of boring. I don't feel like reading this. It's on the subreddit if you care about it. But I toasted her. She's an obnoxious fucking loser. Freak. She just like went MAGA brained. And now she's doing all kinds of crazy like Zog, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. She's really lost her mind. And it's quite pathetic. She said I'm low IQ, guys.
I'm not too familiar with her. Isn't she a Hassan hater?
She hates Hassan, but who doesn't?
Oh, I thought you guys could have bonded over that.
Well, I thought so until I saw her being like, Israel occupies the American government.
Unironically, Ethan Klein looks worse than the actor whose character was supposedly dying of consumption.
Which is like American neo-Nazi.
Also, how sad is it that his producers are like, I thought you could have made a friend over your shared hatred of Hassan. Dude, you're a fucking loser. That's how you make friends?
Nazi classic talking point that she's adopted. And I've also seen posts, lots of pictures. She's picked up a new audience on Twitter who you'll notice in her replies. Nazis. They're there. And they're supporting
On
her.
Twitter?
Yeah.
Nazi, please. Nazi, please.
And also, this needs...
Not really surprising, the podcast most famous for having a 9-minute long N-word compilation from the main host uses the Fox News soundbite of Nazi please as a joke, which is a thinly veiled wish by these right-wing hosts, by these right-wing pundits of just saying the N-word. They just wish they could say the N-word. And so they had a whole bit where they were saying Nazi as opposed to the N-word. Not really surprising that they would put that up and throw that into the show. And apparently Gila loves that. That tickles her fancy.
Yeah.
Nazi,
Yeah.
please.
Nazi, please.
And also, this needs to be talked about more, but the Young Turks, the name of the news organization that was chosen by Cenk, is the name of the imperial, the political party that is directly responsible for the Armenian genocide. The Young Turks is the name of the group of people that had hundreds of thousands of Armenians do death marches into the desert. Mass murdered not just Armenians, but Assyrians and Greek people as well. These guys were fascist mass murderers. And Cenk, a Turkish man who knows the history, right? And his family is involved in all this shit. You know, Hassan's dad created the political party in Turkey that negotiated the release of Sinwar.
Yeah, my mind was blown when I heard
The
that.
weird political ties of his family are deep and direct, and people don't talk about it. He named, that would be like if I named my show The Young Nazi. The Young Nazi.
I mean, your wife does have a blue Star of David tattooed on her specifically to support a fascist genociding state. So I wouldn't be one to talk about naming and endorsing a genociding entity.
Well, actually, so I'm talking specifically to Anna because she's Armenian. And I've gotten lots of emails from Armenian fans. I've seen lots of posts when I first mentioned this. And they're like, thank you so much. People don't talk about it. How much of a pathetic sap she is to sit there next to Cenk, who's like a Turkish supremacist, who named his new news organization after the people that genocided her fucking family. How do you sit there, Anna, and smile in the face of your oppressor and kiss the ring of the man, of the people? You don't even...
Like, dude, you do realize that he named it the Young Turks, not after that political group. And he's not actually genociding Armenian people, right? Like, he does realize Cenk and Hassan had nothing to do with the Armenian genocide. Right? Like, he said this multiple times now, where he's like, kiss the ring of your oppressor, Anna. Just sit there and smile. He's not even her boss. They're like co-bosses. They're like co-owners of the Young Turks. He's not actually oppressing her, dude. You have a much more hierarchical, oppressive dynamic with your employees than Cenk does with Anna. I'm not even talking about the other employees of the Young Turks, but Anna specifically is like a co-owner with Cenk.
And have the balls to ask for a name change? You guys couldn't think of something else that didn't evoke the memory of the fucking genocide of your family, Anna? Cenk, by the way, famously denied the Armenian Holocaust for a time, or the Armenian genocide, what have you.
Give me the clip of that. Like, okay, let's just look this up. Did Cenk Uygur, how do you spell his name? Oh yeah, with a U. Deny Armenian genocide. Cenk Uygur on controversy over the Armenian genocide. This is a Lex Friedman podcast. He was on Lex Friedman. Oh God, he's fallen so far.
One of the controversial things you've done in the 90s as a student at UPenn, you publicly denied the Armenian genocide, which is the mass.
Armenians claim there was another genocide in this century. They claim that the Turkish government between the years of 1950 and 1923 carried out a genocide of the Armenian people. They claim that the truth of this matter is also beyond reproach. Every year, the Armenian Club takes out a full-page ad in the Daily Pennsylvanian, making its claims of a genocide. Then they proceed to try to block a similar ad showing the other side. Oh God, Jake. There's two sides to genocide.
Murder of over 1 million Armenians in 1915 and 16 in the Ottoman Empire. You have since then publicly and clearly changed your mind on this. Tell me the process you went through to change your mind.
This was when Cenk was a teenager in college, by the way. That's when he made this article. Nothing about when he was actually a political commentator other than writing for the Pennsylvanian.
Yeah, so when you're a kid, you're taught a whole bunch of things. That's the software that we talked about earlier, right? So
Dude, he literally had Turkish education, which does deny the Armenian genocide. Turkey is a fascist country. The idea that they are denying the Armenian genocide, look, this is so fucking perfect, right? Ethan Klein, in the episode where he denies the Nakba happening, he fucking grew up in America. He didn't get brainwashed by Israel. Cenk, as a teenager that then went to college and wrote a paper basically just reflecting the brainwashing education that he got, then worked himself out of it. Ethan's now a 40-fucking-year-old man, and he's working himself into the brainwashing. He's working himself into the brainwashing that the Nakba just took place over a few days, and actually it was instigated by the nefarious Arab League of Nations that just decided to invade Israel out of pure anti-Semitism. That's the fucking soundbite we're getting from Ethan Klein when we're talking about Israeli atrocities and the historical revisionism that he's spouting. But Cenk got fucking brainwashed as a kid and then worked himself out of it. And now is completely okay with owning up to his mistakes as an adult. And Ethan's doing the opposite.
Social software is media, family, friends, social media, etc. And so growing up in any tribe, whether it's a religious tribe or an ethnic tribe, you're going to get indoctrinated into that tribe's way of thinking. So you take a Turkish person who's super progressive, loves Bernie, believes with all their heart and peace, and you tell them something about Kurds, and they'll say, oh, no, not those guys. They're terrible and evil, and we have to do what we do to them. You see, that's the tribe taking over, right? And
pretty ironic considering like this could be directly applied to Ethan, directly applied to what did Mehdi Hassan call them? Like equality for everyone but Palestinian liberals. That's what he's saying. Like, oh yeah, I'm all for social justice except Palestinians. That's the type of liberal that we're dealing with when we're talking about guys like Ethan Klein, Jonathan Greenblatt, and Jonathan Greenblatt might actually be racist. And the fucking guy that Mehdi Hassan was debating on the Pod Save America podcast.
So you tell any religious person what's wrong with the other religions, they're like, oh, yeah, that's totally true. You get to their religion, tribe takes over. No, how dare you, I'm offended, right? So I grew up with Turkish propaganda. So I'll tell you a couple of funny instances of it. When we were kids, we'd go to Turkish American Day Parade. I'm like 10 or 12 years old. It's in the middle of New York because I grew up in Jersey. That's why I got to know those fights. And we would chant in Turkish, Turkey is the biggest country. There's no other country that's even big. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, Dad, isn't this crazy? America's big, China's big. Why are we chanting this nonsensical chant, right? So that's the beginning of beginning to realize you're indoctrinated. I'm in college, and I read about a battle that the Ottoman Empire lost. And I'm like, that can't be right. The Turks have only lost one war, World War I, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. I got taught that in 3rd grade in Turkey. Of course that's not true. That's ridiculously untrue, right? All those thoughts are in your head. You don't even realize it. And so on the Armenian genocide, I read the Turkish version, right? And the Turkish version has all of this evidence, right? So it's real in that it exists. But here, I'll give you a great example of it. I think it was Colonel Chester. He's some random American military guy after World War I. And he says about the Armenians after the mass march. the forced marches. He says they returned to the area fat and entirely unmassacred. Okay, I'm like, hey, that's an American colonel that's saying that, so that's obviously true. You see, that didn't happen, right? Or at least in the way that the Armenians say. Now, as a grown-up, I look at it and I go, are you kidding me? That guy's obviously trying to get a contract with the Turkish government, right? Nobody returns from a forced march fat and entirely unmassacred, right? So that's propaganda. And so, and that one was so indoctrinated that it was tough to let go. So at Penn, I write that op-ed, et cetera. And then over the course of time, and so Anna and I disagree on things from time to time. And we've been co-hosting now she's been at Young Turks for 18 years and co-hosting for, almost 18. And so she's Armenian. And by the way, I love America. I mean, we came to America because we love this country, land of hope and opportunity. That's part of why I fight so hard for the average American, for the American idea. So here's a Turk and an Armenian doing a show together, and it becomes the #1 online news show. That's the beauty of America, right? So she's telling me things and we're having some on-air discussions about it, et cetera. And then it just dawned on me like, no, this too was obviously propaganda. So at that point, once you realize that, it becomes easier. That's why I'm trying to unplug people from the matrix, because once you realize it's propaganda, oh my God, it gets infinitely easier to start telling what's true and not true.
So maybe by way of it.
Okay, so Jank is just Neo unplugging people from, or not Neo, he's Morpheus unplugging people from the Matrix. And then just really quick, while we're on this stupid fucking subject, we can read here that he says, in response to the criticism he has received from the name, Jank has explained that the name of the show was chosen because it is a popular colloquialism, traditionally meaning a young radical who fights the status quo. I mean, or I'll just say Young Turk. What does Young Turk mean in slang? A Young Turk, an insurgent person trying to take control of a situation or organization by force or political maneuver. The term originated from the mostly young Turkish officers who overthrew Ottoman rulers after World War I. So it's literally just a symbol for like insurgency, radical change, someone who is going to like use politics to affect the change in the world that they want to see. Which is why like Anna Kasparian brought up the Young Turks song by Rod Stewart, which is about someone who's trying to, like a young person trying to make his way in the world. What do we have? It's a rebellious youth who acts contrary to what is deemed normal by society. The phrase Young Turks is not heard in the song, but the chorus instead is centering on the phrase Young Hearts Be Free Tonight, leading to the song frequently being known as Young Hearts or Young Hearts Be Free. Like, literally, like, Anna Kasparian brought up the idea that Rod Stewart wrote a song called Young Turks to Ethan, and Ethan's like, okay, well, he's not a political analysis, he's not a political analyst, so I hold you to a different standard than him. But he missed the point that Anna's like, it's a phrase, it's a saying, it's a motif of a character. It's like an archetype, and Ethan just completely ignored that. He was not able to understand why she said it. So yeah, even though like that political party also named themselves after that archetype of person, I think that it is reasonable to be like, okay, well, this is why Jank named himself, or named his group after that. Like, that's a reasonable thing to name a progressive, at least like it was progressive radio show from like 20 years ago. No, he can't Google. Hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. If you also want to be gifted a sub, please consider subscribing, or not subscribing, joining the channel. I don't fucking know. It's only 99 cents a month, and your name can be in green, and you'll make me feel good when you subscribe.
For a time, he denied it. He might still deny it, frankly. He changed.
Dude, this is just fucking slander. I mean, Jank has addressed this so many times. I found him addressing it in like 5 seconds of research, and Ethan's like, Jank still denies the Armenian genocide. Okay, dude.
His opinion, his public opinion, after people press.
Like, are we okay with criticizing people for denying genocide now? Because that's what you've been doing literally since October 7th, 2023 happened. You're denying genocide. You're like, right now, he's denying 2 genocides. He's denying the Nakba, and he's denying the current genocide that Israel's doing in this episode.
Him hard enough, like, dude, you're a monster. What are you doing? He might still well believe it. And you have the, and she's up there talking about Zog, Zionist occupied government. It's like, you sit next to your oppressor. and you kiss the ring.
He's so gross. He's such a gross person. If you have an issue with her saying the term Zionist occupied government, then explain what your issue with that is. Don't say you sit next to your oppressor, because it makes you look like a fool that doesn't actually know what he's talking about, and you can't eloquently or coherently defend any of the positions you have. All you have are like these half-baked insults off of like scanning the ChatGPT responses when he asks the questions. Or I don't even think he has the wherewithal to Google search or like search things on ChatGPT anymore. I think he's just getting this shit from his Reddit. He's just like scanning, he's just like absent-mindedly scanning his Reddit, and then whenever he sees something that triggers a buzz in his brain, he picks up on it. He doesn't actually know what the fuck he's talking about.
What a disgrace. So yeah, I mean, I've got lots of emails from Armenian fans out there who are like, please talk about the Young Turks, the name, the fact that Anna is there as a useful tool for them to dispel criticism, to be like, oh, my best friend, look at my co-host.
Hey, thanks for having
Armenian.
you.
That's what
Egg.
you are, Anna. You are a pin in his hat, a feather in his cap to say, hey, look, I've got my own Armenian pet.
Bro, is Ethan... Like, this is a misogynist, thing I've seen Ethan doing a lot, where whenever he criticizes women, he can't just criticize the women. It has to be that the men that are around them are actually responsible for their actions that he finds distasteful. So when he's criticizing Anna, it's actually Jank that's responsible for everything wrong with her, right? Jank's using her, he's demeaning her, he's oppressing her. When he's criticizing Denims or Frogan, Hassan literally has his hand up Denims' ass, puppeteering her mouth. But it's not sexual. It's not sexual. Famously last week, apparently if you fucking like fist someone and then puppeteer them, that's not sexual at all. But, you know, Denims is responsible, or Hassan is responsible for Denims' behavior. He's also responsible for Frogan's behavior. Or if he does apply any agency to a woman, it's for breaking up relationships between him and Hassan, right? He says Frogan is responsible for breaking up my relationship with Hassan, which is another fucking misogynistic archetype, or a misogynistic talking point, basically being like, oh yeah, like me and my friend were so close until his bitch girlfriend got in the picture and then put a wedge between us. Misogyny, like. Why don't you criticize women without having to criticize the men that are around them in their lives? Like, are you gonna, like, can we hear you criticize Emma Vigeland without criticizing Sam Cedar? Like, when are you actually going to treat women like real people that have agency?
And that's what she is, you know. And the Young Turks has just turned into just like a. I mean, let me show you some of the highlights without reading all of it. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's true. Basically blaming, like in this case, he's blaming Anissa for breaking up his relationship with iDubbbz.
She says, this one really rubbed me wrong. She says she's talking about the CEO of.
Bro, Ethan's so fucking stupid. This is the most defensible tweet that Anna Kasparian said.
ADL. The arbiter of anti-Semitism is worried about Jewish people marrying non-Jews. You can be 1,000% in favor of interfaith and interracial marriage, but if you criticize Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people, you deserve to have your life ruined. He, on the other hand, can look down his nose at Jews who marry for love, regardless of religious or racial identity. Why do you make it seem like Jews are the only people that care if they marry in their religion or culture? That's literally everybody. Asian parents, Arab parents, Muslim parents.
I love how, first of all, he misreads her tweet. Second of all, he's like, sure, Jews are racist, but so are other groups of people. Like, dude, Anna Kasparian wasn't the one extrapolating the fucking, like, pure bloodline bullshit ideology that Jonathan Greenblatt had to all Jewish people. She was saying he's racist. He's against intermarriages, Jews marrying Gentiles. He's against that. He laments that Jews are marrying Gentiles. And Ethan Klein is like, why would you say that all Jews are racist when that happens? Like, look, There's an argument to be like, he could have said, you're extrapolating it to Jews. That's wrong. But instead, he's like, you're extrapolating it to Jews, and I accept that, but I think you're wrong for calling that out specifically because it's not just Jews. All other groups of people do this. So when Ethan Klein says that, like, all other groups of people are racist, he's the one that's extrapolating this racist worldview that Jonathan Greenblatt has to all Jewish people. Like, he's the one that's defaming Jews by saying they care about marrying outside of their religion or ethnicity. Like, every time a Zionist tries to defend Jewish people, they just end up defaming Jewish people. Because at the end of the day, they are just in favor of a racist ethno-state. They're in favor of colonialism and genocide. And they use the idea that that racist ethno-state should be a representation of all Jewish people as a shield for that racist ethno-state. And when you are saying that this ethno-state is a representative of all the people of that ethnicity, you're automatically being racist against that ethnicity. It's as simple as that.
Everybody wants their kids to marry inside of their religion or culture. And it's not even a racial thing. It's more like it's a shared identity. It makes having a relationship easier. But if you're seeing an increase...
What? So now Ethan's just in favor of anti-miscegenation. He's in favor of lowering down the intermarriages. Dude, this man cannot get more unhinged. Why is he like Anna Kasparian? Why would you extrapolate that to all Jews? In fact, let me defend that statement that Jonathan Greenblatt said. Bro, she's calling Jonathan Greenblatt racist, and you're like, he's not, like, she's calling him racist, and then you say, not all Jews are racist, but I am. That's not a good defense of Jonathan Greenblatt. Why would you say that, like, if people stay within their culture, it makes relationships easier? Which is not true whatsoever.
Everybody wants their kids to marry inside of their religion or culture. And it's not even a racial thing. It's more like it's a shared identity. It makes having a relationship easier. But if you're seeing an increase in Jews...
How are you why would you just endorse anti-miscegenation? Why would you just endorse an ideology of anti-race mixing? What the fuck is this? You're like, every race should just stay within their own racial bloodlines because it makes relationships easier culturally. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the idea that culture is just a stand-in for race when we're talking about race realists like Ethan Klein. Dude, I didn't think he was actually, like, I thought he was a racist against Arabs, but I didn't think he was a race realist where he's like, all cultures should date within their own culture.
Jewish people marrying outside of their culture, it's because there is an increasing tolerance amongst Jewish secular families to accept anyone. Both of my siblings married non-Jews. The fact that I married a Jew is completely random, frankly. It was never...
You just said relationships are easier if you marry within your own culture.
Asian parents, Arab parents, Muslim parents, everybody wants their kids to marry inside of their religion or culture.
That's not true, dude. Like, look, there are racist people within every ethnic group. That's true. But saying that Asian parents, Muslim parents, Jewish parents, everybody wants their kids to marry within their own ethnic group? Like, not true. Okay, sorry for pausing it so much, guys. I'm just going to let this play, and then if I have to, I'll try to break stuff down.
Of ADL. The arbiter of anti-Semitism is worried about Jewish people marrying non-Jews. You can be 1,000% in favor of interfaith and interracial marriage, but if you criticize Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people, you deserve to have your life ruined. He, on the other hand, can look down his nose at Jews who marry for love regardless of religious or racial identity. Why do you make it seem like Jews are the only people that care if they marry in their religion?
She's not. She's calling out Jonathan Greenblatt specifically. She didn't say all Jews think this.
Or culture. That's literally everybody. Asian parents, Arab parents, Muslim parents, everybody wants their kids to marry inside of their religion or culture. And it's not even a racial thing. It's more like it's a shared identity. It makes having a relationship easier. But if you're seeing an increase...
Dude, that's an insane thing to say. If you date within your own culture, that makes a relationship easier. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. Like, everyone's a fucking human, dude. It's not a fucking elf and a dwarf trying to make it work. We're not living in the Lord of the Rings. We're humans. The difference between a culture is like, I don't fucking know, the spice level on your food. Who gives a shit? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
And Jewish people marrying outside of their culture, it's because there is an increasing tolerance amongst Jewish secular families to accept anyone. Both of my siblings married non-Jews. The fact that I married a Jew is completely random, frankly.
Sorry, I have to pause this here. He's like, first of all, he says, Anna Kasparian sees an interview that was done by the president of the Anti-Defamation League, literally like the day before she posted this, and she's like, he's lamenting that the Jews are marrying non-Jews. And Ethan's like, why are you only focusing on Jews lamenting this fact that there are intermarriage rates? It's like when you say that President Donald Trump wants to do war in, like he's supporting kicking out Hispanic people in this country. Ethan Klein would respond and say, why do you only care about what the American president is doing? Complete nonsensical response to what Anna said. Then his next point is justifying the idea that races should date within their own racial group, which is a wild left turn to take. He goes from there to saying that actually Jews are being more accepting to other cultures. Both of my siblings married a non-Jewish people. I married a Jew, but like that's completely random. First of all, it's not random. Like you went to Israel because you're Jewish and your wife lived in Israel. That's where you met her. That's not random at all. But like that aside, so he went from being like justifying racial purity between that different ethnic groups to saying that my family is doing intermarriage and it's a good thing.
It was never a thing that my family never cared about. There was never a thing like, oh, you need to marry a Jewish person or don't bring them home. So if anything, it proves the opposite. But somehow.
Then why did you justify it in the beginning? Why the fuck would you just said that that Jewish people care about intermarriages, and then like 20 seconds later you're like, well, actually, like my family doesn't, so it proves the exact opposite. Oh my god, dude.
She turns this into some narrative about Jewish supremacy because I haven't seen the clip, but he's just acknowledging that there's an increase in inner.
You haven't seen the clip?
Well, I'm just reading the quote, and I'm reading her quote.
He hasn't seen dude, he's made like 3 Instagram posts about this. He's spent, okay, we're at 59 right now. He spent 6 minutes talking about this on the podcast, and he hasn't seen the clip. And even his fucking like butt buddy Dan, who's literally just paid to kiss his ass, is like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You haven't seen the clip?
The quote is, he laments a raise in interracial marriages. Then she says,
why is she even talking about
look
this?
down his nose at.
That's not a quote. That's like a summation of his position. Okay, whatever. Like that's how his position was described.
Jews who marry for love regardless of religious identity.
Dude, no, that can't be. Ethan said Jews should be able to marry for love regardless of identity, and Hila says disgusting. No, why would she say that?
The quote, and I'm reading her quote. The quote is, he laments a raise in interracial marriages. Then she says,
why is she even talking about it?
Look down his nose at Jews who marry for love regardless of religious identity.
Why is she talking about it? It's disgusting. It's disgusting that a political commentator comments on the president of the ADL's public interview. That's disgusting, according to Hila. She really is taking notes from the Israeli media that she reads, where their main line of defense is, why the fuck do you care about this? Stop looking at me. Stop paying attention to the crimes we're doing. Just ignore it and move on. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? Actually, if you focus on me killing Palestinians, that's quite anti-Semitic of you. Hila Klein said it's disgusting for a political commentator to provide commentary on an interview that the head of the ADL did the previous day.
Everybody does that. And then she says,
Ethan, it would be one thing if he's like an open Jewish supremacist, that's like if he's like the fucking Jewish version of Dr. Omar, but he's supposed to be the head of the ADL, which is an organization that claims they push for equality for everyone. How can you not understand that that is a those are mutually exclusive positions to hold? You can't claim that you are fighting for equality for everyone while also lamenting the idea that Jews are marrying non-Jewish people. That's a racist ideology while you're the head of an organization that says you're fighting against racism and bigotry of all forms. What the fuck? It's the most valid comment to make. Oh, he's racist. Like he's a Jewish supremacist, right? That's the most valid criticism to make of a Jewish supremacist who's the head of an organization that says he's fighting for rights for everyone.
let's see here. She goes, how can I be? She literally pulls this. Look. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. Someone said, literally, no one gives a fuck if you criticize Israel. The moral high grounding, when you're blatantly hating Jews, is what's pathetic, Anna. The Jews did this, the Jews did that, but it's never the Muslims did this, the Muslims did that. That's even though they're the ones killing people around the globe. Okay, I don't agree with that sentiment at the end.
Why would you read the tweet then? You could have easily just clipped her reaction. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. Oh my god. Okay. Once again, Ethan Klein just like platforming people that are openly Islamophobic. Like, why not? He platforms his wife. Also, do you remember when Ethan said there's no apartheid within Israel because I drank tea next to a Palestinian person? Like, dude, I would rather have you say some of my best friends are Palestinian, but I guess actually you have no friends, so you can't say that. But still, saying my best friends are Palestinian would be an improvement for you saying that I drank tea next to a Palestinian in Israel once.
But her response is interesting to me. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. Like, she knows what she's doing. Look at her. Here's a clip.
Oh yeah, Redskins Nation says, oh yeah, Redskins. I'm surprised they didn't go out there and do like some offensive like rain dance or something like that.
It's like saying, I'm not racist, some of my best friends are black, or my best friend is black.
You just did that. Nah, some of my favorite people are Jewish. You don't have to you don't have to use that to prove how racist you are.
This is when my depression got so much worse, is because it's like, you know, people on the left understand
You mentioned
all the nuances. You know, they're able of understanding nuances when it comes to racial conversations, but somehow when it comes to Jewish people, everything gets thrown out the door.
They understand what their words mean. She understands who the Young Turks are. She goes, oh, an American political group? Why would we care about what the Young Turks means? Because Cenk is fucking an Armenian genocide-denying Turkish supremacist with ties to political parties in Turkey.
Like, I do love how he's able to project all of his own insecurities of what people are, claiming he is onto Cenk, genocide-denying, Turkish supremacist, racist against Armenians. That describes Ethan perfectly if you would actually get rid of the accountability and age a 19-year-old Cenk up by 21 years into a 40-year-old balding, spiteful man who doesn't even seem to care about his children at all.
You didn't include the first tweet that actually started this whole conversation, which was who
the fuck are you talking to, dude? It's your tweet fight with Anna. Why don't you include those parts onto your show?
Was the one that really got me going at her.
Let me look for it.
Yells at AB.
She said, hey, Ethan, your low IQ attacks against our name is rich considering Israel doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide. Why the fuck do you care if Israel how are you going to what about it to Israel immediately? Why do you care if Israel recognizes?
Well, because you're a defender of Israel, pretty obvious.
The Armenian genocide. They had nothing to do with it.
You, Ethan, as the Prime Minister of Israel, should know.
I don't support
what
Israel, by
says.
the way. But even if I did, who cares if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? I would care a lot more if my co-host recognized the Armenian genocide, the guy that you sit next to every day, whose family probably participated in it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dope?
Like, I love how he's like, what does Israel have to do with the Armenian genocide? And in the not even the next sentence, in the next word, she's like, they provided weapons the Azeris used to ethnically cleanse Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh. So it's like, what does Israel have to do with the Armenian genocide? Maybe if you literally read the next fucking word, you'd know, because she wrote it for you. Oh my god, dude, it's not a video. Like, it's not like you're watching a video and you pause it before they actually get to the point that your commentary would have been addressed by. You're reading a 2-sentence long paragraph that's a fucking tweet. Twitter is like the lowest form of communication, and it's still not simple enough for Ethan Klein.
So how about you shut the fuck up with your fake concern about Armenians, you 2-bit genocide supporting douchebag?
He skipped the part. He skipped the part where she described what Israel had to do with the genocide. He skipped it.
But even if I did, who cares if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? She said, "Hey Ethan, your low IQ attacks against our name is rich, considering Israel doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide. Why the fuck do you care if Israel how are you gonna what about it to Israel immediately? Why do you care if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? They had nothing to do with it."
You, Ethan, as the Prime Minister of Israel, should know.
I don't support Israel, by the way. But even if I did, who cares if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? I would care a lot more if my co-host recognized
He's like, they had nothing to do with it. Then he reads the next sentence, is like, oh fuck, I better, not even the next sentence, I can't say that. He reads the end of the sentence, and then he's like, oh fuck, I better skip that part. Like, let's just run this back one more time. He's like, who cares if Israel recognizes it or not? They had nothing to do with it. Then she's like, you don't recognize, Israel doesn't recognize it, and they provided weapons. And he's like, let's just skip the part where they provided weapons.
Why the fuck do you care if Israel how are you gonna what about it to Israel immediately? Why do you care if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? They had nothing to do with it.
You, Ethan, as the Prime Minister of Israel, should know.
Here's where he sees the end of the sentence.
I don't support Israel, by the way. But even if I did, who cares if Israel recognized the Armenian genocide? I would care a lot more if my co-host recognized the Armenian genocide, the guy that you sit next to every day, whose family probably participated in it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dope? So how about you shut the fuck up with your fake concern about Armenians?
Skips the sentence. So he skips out the part where it says, and provided the weapons the Azeris used to ethnically cleanse Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh. He skips all of that, because that would directly refute the riff that he just went on, which is the comedy that his members pay him for. It's just like legendary, truly the George Carlin of our generation in Ethan Klein.
You 2-bit genocide supporting douchebag. Funny how
yeah, he's 1-bit.
He had no issue with the name of the show until people began rightfully criticizing Israel. Now, I learned a lot about you, about Hassan and their family. So, and I learned a lot about who the Young Turks are from the many Armenians that have written to me and posted in our community and left.
Oh my god, dude, why would you admit that? You learned who the Young Turks are from the people that have written to you and have posted on your Reddit. Are you fucking serious? You've learned about who the Young Turks are. You've learned about the Armenian genocide from people that have written to you and posted on your Reddit, and you haven't done any research? You haven't done any research on the name of the show, the origin of the name of the show, the definition of the phrase Young Turk? You haven't done any of that fucking shit, dude? And you've been on this, literally, this rant has been going on for weeks now. At least mid-time last week, he's been attacking Anna Kasparian to try to get to Hassan because of the name of her show. Then he says, oh, Israel has nothing to do with the Armenian genocide, when Anna Kasparian, in the tweet that he conveniently skipped out the second half of the sentence, explained how Israel was actually a supporter of the Armenian genocide. But conveniently, Ethan just has he seems to have blindness when it comes to the horrific acts that Israel has done. He seems to just have selective blindness where he blots that out of his vision. Maybe he needs to get his eyes checked out. But yeah, no, he does research from his fucking fans posting on Reddit. What a goddamn piece of shit. And now you get shit like his fans being like, Ethan's a fucking dumbass when he's actually trying to talk about historical, complicated topics. I think Ethan should not do historical content on complicated topics. What is this? Is this the H3 Snark Reddit? No, this is the H3H3 Productions Reddit for the discussion mega thread of the episode. Your own fans are calling you a dumbass, Ethan, because you're a dumbass.
Comments about it. So yes, it's true that I didn't have an issue with it before I knew what it meant. You have to be brain dead to think that an American political show that barely even discusses Turkey is named after a Turkish political group. Are you fucking crazy? You have to be
How
crazy.
Are you really going to say that?
Meanwhile, you have to be crazy to think that the Young Turks, the name of the political party that did the genocide on your people, you have to be crazy to think that it's a reference to that.
Dude, this would be like saying that the term patriot is a reference to like fucking like Patriot Front or any other kind of radical extremist conservative groups that have popped up throughout the years in American history. Like if a left-wing show calls themselves like the Patriot Hour or something like that, Ethan would be like, I can't believe you named yourself after this. No, it's a term describing a political activist. That's what the term is. That's historically known. And yeah, this group in the Ottoman Empire also named themselves that.
Meanwhile, I cannot believe Israel, who had nothing to do with the Armenian genocide, refused to acknowledge.
Ethan, she said what they had to do with the Armenian genocide in the tweet. She said it in the sentence you began reading and then conveniently forgot to read the last 6-7 words of.
Like, why? Who else didn't acknowledge the Armenian genocide that had nothing to do with it? Did Japan? Did China? Did India? Did Russia? Did fucking Brazil? Who cares? Israel didn't even exist when that shit happened. Didn't even exist. What do you care? This is insane deflection. Is this the one? Let me see. Yes, this is it. This is the one that got me going. This is straight out of the American neo-Nazi anti-Semitic playbook. Our country is occupied and controlled by Israelis. This is very specific language. Refers to this reference popularized by David Duke and other American neo-Nazis, Zog, which is a slur, or Zios, against Jewish people that says it's the Jews that control our government, not actually Americans. Everything we do is just at the behest of the Jews, the Jewish puppeteers that control everything. Our country is occupied. Occupied? That's such a fucking fantastically insane image. Because occupation is like a military. Yeah, I'm gonna hit my inhaler, but at a certain point, there's it's hard to know where the Tourette's.
That's what I think. I don't think right now. I think right now that's a tick.
Right? I hate when ticks interfere with my ability to talk. It's the worst. But I'm gonna hit this anyway. This one's for you, Anna.
Yeah, I would care more about it if what you were saying was actually good for the world to say.
Look at this dork with an inhaler. Yeah, I'm gonna hit this inhaler in between.
Bro, oh my god, dude. Like, I know he has Tourette's, but he is so self-conscious. He can't even take a puff of his inhaler without being like, oh my god, get ready for the dork to take a puff of his inhaler. Dude, it's fucking 2025. It's not like a Mean Girls high school bullying where you have the nerd with the broken glasses sucking at his inhaler when he does any kind of physical activity. Why are you so self-conscious? Just inhale your albuterol that you need to survive, dude. Chill the fuck out. Just do it. Come on, survive and then give us more of your vile propaganda.
Hosting you. 420. Doing huge bong rips. It do that fucking percolator. 420 vape days. You know what it is.
Where you going, man? Where you going? Where you at?
Bro, this is embarrassing. Inhale your medicine, my brother. Just inhale it and move on with the show. You don't have to make every single thing where you might have a point of insecurity a bit to try to shield yourself from actually feeling vulnerable. Why for someone who always says that he has a wife and a kid and multiple kids and he's successful, he's rich, and he criticizes other people for not doing as well in life as him because they didn't get someone pregnant and marry them. He seems to be extremely insecure about his position in life.
Going strong. See you later. I'll see you there.
I don't want oral thrush. Whatever that is. So this image of occupied, that's a military occupation. That's a forced occupation. This is our fight. They're using our money, our bombs to slaughter innocent people and steal lands. And then our media tells us it's the Muslim world hates us for our freedom. People believe that slop as they lose public services because the resources are being sent abroad. Israel gets military assistance. Okay, criticize that. But don't say that people are losing their fucking public services because Israel is getting old military equipment from the fucking United States, right? That's, again, part of this Zog anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. It's misinformed, it's wrong, and it's racist. The jig is up. You either love America or the country occupying it. Dude, if you have a problem with AIPAC, talk about lobbying. Qatar spends a lot more money lobbying in America than AIPAC does, which, by the way, AIPAC is an American lobbying group of Jewish Americans. It's not an Israeli group. It doesn't.
Yeah, but lobbying isn't just the end-all be-all. There are a lot of politicians in America that are ideologically Zionist, either religiously so, uses it as like a foreign policy declaration, racistly so, like Islamophobic, and they think that we need to have some kind of satellite state in the Middle East to control the Muslims. Like, it's not just lobbying. That's not the only issue. And also, AIPAC spends a lot of... AIPAC doesn't spend as much money as Qatar because they have a lot of politicians that are already on their fucking side.
It doesn't have Israeli money. It's not even affiliated with Israel directly. It's Americans who support Israel. Now, Qatar spends significantly more money lobbying in America and in universities. But like somehow it's only the Jews. It's only AIPAC that gets called out for being a problem. It's the Jew. It's AIPAC that's occupying. It's not just their. It's not no longer money in politics is influencing or politicians are being bought this and that. It's now you're being occupied by the Zionists, despite other countries spending more money lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, when America starts funding and running political defense for Qatar's genocide, then we can start talking about how America is controlled by Qatar. Like, sure. Once again, I disagree with Anna Kasparian's framing of this issue. Like, I don't think that the Israelis are occupying our American government. That's not right. It's American politicians that are in support of the Israeli project. No one's going to say, like, look, Donald Trump got multiple bribes by pro-Israeli lobbyists. How much money did he get from the Adelsons? Let's just take a look at this real quick. Trump, Adelson, lobbying. $100 million in 2024 he got from Miriam Adelson, and essentially that was to be able to annex the West Bank, to allow Israel to annex the West Bank. He also got a fucking jet from Qatar. But we need to keep in mind that it's like he's getting bribed from both of these places. And the reason that he's still just letting Israel do whatever the fuck they want to do is because that's the foreign policy of America. That's America's foreign policy. So, yeah, it's not that the Israelis are controlling the government. America has a vested interest in Israel because that's where we can send our weapons to, and that's how we feel like we have a control on that region of the world.
Anna, you are a fucking racist, bigoted pig who sits there and kisses the ring of your oppressor. How does that feel to be so worthless? Hated by your own people. I'm telling you, the Armenians fucking despise her that have wrote me.
Yeah, I wonder why, Ethan.
They think the worst of her. And she is. She's a terrible person. She really is. She's also MAGA-brained. She's kind of like embodied the worst of all possible political takes. She's become like an anti-Semitic, racist MAGA person. It's wild, man. And all I see...
I do love how Ethan, who spends 90% of his time attacking people on the left, is calling Anna Kasparian MAGA-brained. Takes one to know one, Ethan? No, just kidding. Like... Anna Kasparian is like doing the whole like leaving the left thing, but it is just precious that Ethan Klein is saying that she's mega-brained.
Is Cenk just losing his mind? He's always participating in these debates, like Piers Morgan, or he did one on the Jubilee, and he is so unstable. It's entertaining as hell, I'll tell you that. I love to see that guy squirm. He's just so unstable. But
he's talking about janky yogurt. Dude, you're calling someone else unstable? You like started almost crying when you were talking with Hassan. When you were talking with Hassan, you called your wife a terrorist.
Yeah, what a bunch of terrible people they are. And this is Hassan's family. These are the people that gave him basically his first and only job, right? His parents, his mom is a prolific property manager. The ultimate irony. His mom property manages commercial real estate. His dad founded a fucking reactionary, well, actually, I don't know if they're reactionary, but a political party in Turkey that negotiated.
He doesn't even know what the political party is. And once again, all of this shit is stuff that he's finding on his Reddit or people are sending him.
With Hamas, who's also I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he is extraordinarily wealthy. I mean, I have a lot of questions about Hassan's family and how they all interlink, and I don't think people have thoroughly.
Who cares? Who cares, dude? If you have an issue with Hassan, criticize Hassan. What do you mean? Like you have a lot of questions about Hassan's family. If anyone said to Ethan, like, oh yeah, I have questions about your family. Your dad was a billionaire. Your mom is a prolific property manager. He would just immediately cry anti-Semitism and say that people are using anti-Semitic conspiracy theories to try to devalue what he says. But it's fine when he does it to Hassan, right? Because fuck it.
Adequately explored that connection, you know. But anyway, yes, we are occupied by Zionists. A country of 10 million people in the Middle East, far away, is occupying the third largest, most powerful and rich nation in the world. It's incredible. The Jews, this small group of people, what they can accomplish. Really? Really? You would think Ghislaine Maxwell was Jewish.
Yeah, I thought Hassan's mom was in academia. Like, I thought she had a PhD. But now he's talking about Ghislaine Maxwell is Jewish? What the fuck did I miss?
Basically, his first and only job, right? His mom is a prolific property manager. The ultimate irony. His mom property manages commercial real estate. His dad founded a fucking reactionary, well, actually, I don't know if they're reactionary, but a political party in Turkey that negotiated with Hamas, who's also I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he is extraordinarily wealthy. I mean, I have a lot of questions about Hassan's family and how they all interlink, and I don't think people have thoroughly or adequately explored that connection, you know. But anyway, yes, we are occupied by Zionists. A country of 10 million people in the Middle East, far away, is occupying the third largest, most powerful and rich nation in the world. It's incredible. The Jews, this small group of people, what they can accomplish. Really? Really? You would think Ghislaine Maxwell was Jewish. Get it? Because she's a great executive. She's not, though. She is? Ghislaine's Jewish? I don't think so. I know he is. Well, maybe that would explain then. Maybe that confirms everything. Ghislaine?
God, I miss this funny. I miss this funny comedy.
Oh, this is one of my other favorite things. You have to be brain dead to think that American political show that barely even discusses Turkey is named after a Turkish political group from a century.
He's been talking about this tweet from Anna for the past 10 minutes.
I'm sure that's what Rod Stewart also was doing when he named one of his most popular songs Young Turks. Rod Stewart is not a political pundit.
Did he name it after the group that caused the Armenian genocide, in your opinion? Think about what she's saying. Like, take just 10 seconds of critical thought about what Anna said. Like, does the thought not cross his mind where he's like, why did Rod Stewart name a song Young Turk? Let me look that up. Does he have a critical thought left in his husk of a body?
He didn't choose to make a show about politics. He's a fucking musician. Okay?
So Ethan thinks Rod Stewart wrote a song celebrating the perpetrators of the Armenian genocide? Is that what he thinks?
You know what that means. As an Armenian, as a Turkish...
Oh, he just didn't know what Young Turk meant. He just thought it was a cool collection of words, kind of like when you join some kind of website or make a profile and it automatically creates an adjective and then a noun, and that's your username. He just did a random word generator, and it could have been like fat, fat bird or blue water bottle, but it just ended up being Young Turk, just randomly. He just didn't know what it was. He just thought it sounded cool. Young Turk. Could have been like middle-aged Korean, but no, it was Young Turk. It just completely pulled out of the ether from Rod Stewart.
A person, as someone who sits next to a Turkish person, if someone sits on a show called The Young Turks, are you seriously pointing to Rod Stewart as your out? Holy fuck, dude. Yeah, you know what? The Nazis were very industrial. They modernized Germany. They built highways. I mean, yeah, they did the Holocaust and the World War II and all that. But like, just because my show is called The Young Nazis, why do you think it's more about their industrial innovativeness? Mm-hmm. They're cool.
Like, this would be equivalent to being like someone using the swastika in India, right? Saying that, oh yeah, well, you use a swastika, the Nazis use a swastika, so you are celebrating the Nazis, right? If the term Nazi described someone as like a political insurgent that had been used global, like that term had global recognition, and you can look it up in the fucking dictionary and you'd see that Nazi, a political dissident who wants to who wants to bring about radical change, and that's the only connotation that the term Nazi had, and it was a term that existed before the Nazis. It wasn't an acronym specifically used to describe Hitler's fascist regime. Then maybe he'd have a point here, but he doesn't.
Getting attitude. Do you want me to read the lyrics to the whole song? Billy left.
I'm not a Rod Stewart fan, so I wasn't familiar with that song, and I was reading the lyrics. We might be able to glean some insight here.
Oh my god, are we going to get the rare pushback / fact check from the crew on a point that Ethan is so glaringly wrong about?
What do you think?
First, I fucking love this song.
Oh, you love this song?
I did read a bit about it. It was originally meant to be called Young Hearts, and he.
No, it wasn't. From what we read, that's the chorus of the song, and then people refer to it as Young Hearts. That wasn't what it was originally meant to be called.
Changed it last minute because he liked the sound of Young Turk, and he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, I'm reading the lyrics, and it's about a guy named Billy and his pickup truck, and he got his ear pierced. I'm not seeing any connection to Turkish politics, I guess is my point.
It's not.
There's no connection to Turkish politics with the phrase Young Turks. Young Turks is a phrase that relates to someone who's like a radical and goes off on their own, like a young person pushing for change, which is the story of the song Young Turks by Rod Stewart. Like, let's just look this up. Rod Stewart, Young Turks. Okay, let's go to the genius lyrics. Billy left his home with $1 in his pocket and a head full of dreams. He said somehow, someway, it's got to get better than this. Pushing for change as a young person. Patty packed her bags, left a note for her mama. She was just 17. There were tears in her eyes when she kissed her little sister goodbye. They held each other tight as they drove through the night. We were so excited. But got one shot at life. Let's take it while we're still not afraid, because life is so brief and time is a thief. When you're undecided, like a fistful of sand, it can slip through your hands. Young hearts, be free tonight. Time is on your side. Literally, like, Young Turks meaning an insurgent trying to take control of a situation. Look, a young person eager for radical change to the established order. That's the literal Oxford definition, a dictionary definition of Young Turk, which perfectly describes this song from Rod Stewart about young people eager for radical change. It's mind-boggling. How many fucking people do they have in this studio, and not one person simply thinks to Google the definition of Young Turks? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? How is this show such a black hole of information? It's like where information goes to die and gets squashed down and just like transmitted through an AI algorithm to make everything stupider and incorrect.
Yeah.
The Young Turks, when Cenk makes a news organization, when his relatives are in Turkish politics, when his relatives are Turkish bourgeoisie,
Now that's a soundbite.
When Cenk makes a news organization, when his relatives are in Turkish politics, when his relatives are Turkish bourgeoisie, aristocracy.
Dude, it got worse. No, oh shit, I fucked up. Oh no, I pressed 1 by accident. That was hilarious. Why? Hold on. Maybe we can make it easier for Ethan. So do we have anything? Hopefully I don't get fucking copyrighted for this.
Coming to home video for the very first time. One of the greatest Disney classics, The Aristocats. Meow.
There we go. There we go. Ethan just needs to sit down with his kids, spend one afternoon with his children, and watch this show. It would honestly give him such a better education on the way that the world works than anything he's done over the past 5 years. Holy God, dude. Oh my. That's like something that my 8-year-old cousin would struggle saying. And then he'd look it up. And he'd ask a question and then he'd correct himself. Oh, hold on. What was it? 1970s Disney narrator?
Coming to home video for the very first time. One of the greatest Disney classics, The Aristocats.
Aristocats? Although this is different. That the real word has an R in it. Get it, Ethan? It's a pun. It's the aristocrats, aristocracy. And I know it's difficult because when you actually change it from the adjective to the noun, it's a different enunciation on the vowels of the term, right? It's slightly different, but you just got to spell it out, buddy. You just got to spell it out, and you're gonna be good.
Love this song.
And about all this,
as heard from them. So give me a fucking break. Why don't you try to prove how against genocide you are? Let's start with the name of your show. If you're so anti-genocide. Let's start there, lady. Okay, and then let's talk about Israel. The Nazis were very industrial. Called the Young Nazis.
I fucking...
Yeah, I'm reading the lyrics and...
bourgeoisie, aristocracy, makes a new
connection to Turkish politics, I guess is my
it's
point.
not.
Yeah.
The Young Turks, when Cenk makes a news organization, when his...
He only knows about hard R's, goddamn. Dude struggling to function on 2 HP. That's me in Elden Ring. That's me in Elden Ring when I'm out of my healing potions.
Relatives are in Turkish politics, when his relatives are Turkish bourgeoisie, aristocrats. Thank you, Dan.
There you go.
So nobody wants to help me. I'm out here drowning, fighting for my life.
I know.
But I was gonna say Cenk actively talks today about genocide and about all this stuff.
While sitting next to an Armenian.
So,
with a...
How are they gonna say that it has nothing? They have no responsibility to change the name.
What? Here's my...
Bro, these people are so stupid. I swear to God. And I mean, they're using their ignorance as a weapon. Like, it really is weaponized ignorance in the worst way because they're spreading their idiocy to their audience as well. Like, they're training their audience to not be critical thinkers whatsoever, never look anything up, and just revel in your own filthy stupidity. And then use that as a cudgel against your political opponents. I don't understand you, so you're wrong, and I'm gonna attack you for it.
Question for you, Anna. Do you think that an Armenian, an Assyrian, or a Greek person who is affected by the genocide perpetrated by the Young Turks thinks that it's as innocent, as harmless as you claim it to be? Do you think so? Well, I don't, and I've heard from them. So give me a fucking break.
I love this, dude. I love this. He's like, I've had 2 emails from fans saying that they hate your show. I've done all the research I ever need to do, and that means you need to change your name.
Why don't you deal with the problems in your own studio? Why don't you be dare to... You want, like, the entire Middle East to...
It actually just boils down to, he's sad and mad that Anna Kasparian called him a little bitch boy. And then he's like, why don't you just, like, shut up and go to your own studio and deal with that? I mean, stop being so mean to me. And he's doing the Jordan Peterson. You must fix your own house. You must clean your room. before you try to change the world. If there's underwear on your floor, how do you ever expect to pick the proverbial underwear off of the political floor? You must focus on getting your own house in order before you look at me. That's Ethan Klein right now.
Overnight change. You can't even change the name of your fucking show to prove how against genocide you are. Let's start with the name of your show. If you're so anti-genocide. Mm-hmm. Let's start there, lady. Okay, and then let's talk about Israel. Dope. Fuck you. Anyway, that's my beef with... Somehow I'm now beefing with Hassan's entire extended family.
Wow.
Have some conviction.
I just think change the name, guys. Right? Call it the Turks.
It's not a Turkish political show. The Young Turks is a phrase meaning a young radical that wants change. Holy fuck, dude. Oh my god.
Call it our longing for the return of the Ottoman Empire and the return of Jews to dhimmi status. I know that's what she wants ultimately. She wants Jews to return to dhimmis, which is a lower classman in caliphates and the Ottoman Empire. That's where the Jews belong.
The Young Turks overthrew the Ottoman Empire.
Okay,
they were
fine.
like against the Ottomans.
But they okay, very good. But did they? Well, let's see what the Young Turks thought about Jews. Let's just see. That's actually a good question.
Dude,
what did the Young
here?
Turks political party think about Jews? Here we go.
Oh, he's asking ChatGPT. Oh. Well, I guess ChatGPT is a step above his dumbass audience emailing him or posting on Reddit.
Yeah, they promoted Ottomanism. They had the same kind of ethos, you know.
Okay, I'm skipping this. I don't give a fuck about this.
Kind of essence of Jews everywhere, right? Is that I think that's why most Jews see Israel as an important place, as important to the religion. That was kind of depending on other governments for thousands of years to keep them safe, and they have continually failed them, and which culminated obviously in the Holocaust. So Jews around the world, they looked around after that and the ashes of the Second World War and said, never again. That's what that means. It means never again will we allow ourselves to be put in this situation defenseless. Never again will we count on the great.
Yeah, so Ethan's just right now advocating and justifying the idea that there needs to be a Jewish ethno-state without Palestinians having equal rights there. That's what he's advocating for. He said that he doesn't want the demographics of Palestinians to be equal to the demographics of Jews in Israel, because then the Palestinians would just pogrom the Jews, seemingly forgetting about the idea that white people have killed more Jews than any other racial group of people, and he doesn't really seem to have an issue with Jews living in Germany as an ethnic minority, Jews living in the US as an ethnic minority, Jews living anywhere other than Israel as an ethnic minority. So his argument completely falls apart here.
Race of another country, another people, another culture to defend us. As a people, they made that decision then and there, and that was kind of where this is where the ethos of this whole like survival mentality comes from, right?
Yeah, so ethnically cleansing Palestinians and then genociding them and doing more ethnic cleansing, that's just a survival mentality in Ethan's mind. This is just Zionist propaganda that is used to justify a genocide that's currently going on right now, that he says he keeps the plight of the victims of that genocide on the top of his mind, and yet he never talks about them and only does pro-genocide propaganda. Curious.
And that's very much still how people feel. I know World War II was a long time ago, but that type of ethos, that's like a uniting kind of essence of Jews everywhere.
Like, also the entitlement here is just astounding when you take a step back. Israel is a country that has murdered millions of Palestinians in their colonization project of an ethno-state. That's what they've done. They've murdered millions. They've ethnically cleansed the region of millions of Palestinians. And they're not done. They're continuing to ethnically cleanse the region of those people that they deem as lesser than the Zionists, lesser than the Jews that live in Israel. This man right now is sitting here saying that the Jewish people were the victims of unspeakable tragedies, war crimes, genocide, Holocaust. And because of that tragedy that was done upon the Jewish people, they need to have their own space. While now the people that claim they're doing an ethnic group, or they're doing an ethno-state in the name of those Jews that were Holocausted by Nazi Germany, while they're doing the same thing to another group of people, and you have the entitlement to sit there and say that they need to have their own ethno-state. What about the Palestinian ethno-state? Why do the Palestinians not have the right to use that trauma inflicted upon them by the Israelis to then justify the necessity of them having an ethno-state in that region? Like, your logic completely falls apart if you take out the idea that Palestinians are lesser than Jews. If you look at Palestinians and Jews as equal groups of people, with both a similar, like both with the exact same claim to humanity as the other group, then Ethan Klein's logic and all of the other liberal Zionist logic completely falls apart. Their logic is predicated on the idea that Palestinians are lesser than Jewish people.
Right? Is that, I think that's why most Jews see Israel as an important place, as important to the religion. 80% or 70% polled said they think Israel's important to to being Jewish because it is that. It is symbolically that. It is the promise that Jews made after World War II to never again depend on another people's generosity to defend them. You know?
Like, that's crazy. Like, Jewish people are assimilated in America. They're not in some kind of separate enclave, similar to Native Americans, unfortunately, which is another tragedy. You're not relying on another people to protect you. You are taking part of a country. Like, you're just advocating for an ethno-state. That's what you're doing. Because when you get down to it, what do you mean? The Jews will never rely on another people to protect them. Well, yeah, if they're relegated to a minority group that doesn't have any kind of real access to power in politics and self-determination in that way, where, let's say, America had a rule that Jews were not allowed in politics and you couldn't be a politician if you were a Jew. That's fucked up. That's a scenario where Jews are disenfranchised in this country. But that's not the scenario we have. Jewish people are fairly assimilated in America. And so it's not like they're relying on the non-Jewish Americans to protect them. The entire premise, the underlying assumption of your premise is flawed. Jews aren't relying on another minority group. They're not separate from the rest of the country. Unlike Palestinians, where they are a minority group within Israel and within Gaza and the West Bank that has no real representation in government, they have no self-determination whatsoever.
And so now there's lots to debate around all of the establishment of Israel, how it came to be, the Nakba and all that kinds of stuff. But I do think it's important to bear in mind.
There's debate about that. Maybe if you are a Nakba denialist, you can debate it, but I don't think there's a lot of debate about it.
Mind the philosophy, the mentality, the survival instincts that kicked in after World War II that persist to this day. And I mean, of course, the Israelis feel that every day. They're surrounded by countries that have been continually trying to war with them, destroy them. I mean, you know what happened one day before the Nakba?
This is fucking disgusting, dude. So once again, justifying their genocide of the Palestinians by saying that, well, the Israelis' mentality of genocide was informed by their generational trauma of going through the Holocaust. No, dude, they're just fucking racist. That's what it's justified by. They're just racist against Palestinians. They ethnically cleansed them in 1948. And they're finishing the job now. And in the next few years, there's probably not going to be a Palestine. But do you think it's going to stop then? No, it's going to be in Lebanon, then it's going to be Egypt, then it's going to be Syria. They're going to continue to bomb all of these places. Like, they're already they're still at war with Iran. There's still this secret, like, hacking war that Israel's doing with Iran. They're not done with that. It's just a racist colonial state. That's what it is, dude.
I don't know if people don't really talk about this. One day before the Nakba. People don't know. What happened one day before the Nakba?
One day before the Nakba, as though the Nakba was just a switch that was flipped. Like, once again, for people that weren't here at the beginning of stream, we went over this almost 9-minute long video where Ilan Pape described the events of the Nakba. And we can take a look at like the Wikipedia article for the Nakba, and it gradually started over between the late 1947 and early 1948. So small-scale skirmishes began on November 30th and gradually escalated until March 1948. When Ethan Klein says something happened one day before the Nakba, that betrays he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. He's just making shit up out of whole cloth that tries to justify his world belief that the Israelis are these perfect victims that are constantly being ostracized and attacked and belittled by the fucking Arabs that are surrounding them. And thus, even though he's not explicitly justifying everything that Israel does, there is the implicit justification and endorsement of all of Israel's actions in this podcast. So when, like, dude, the day before the Nakba is just wild for him to say. Like I went over this, but I just can't stop. Like, every single source, he says there's a debate, but he's like, the day before the Nakba, just the fucking, the Nakba happened. Oh, one day everything's peaceful, we're having tea with each other side by side, and then the next day, oh, I guess we're in Nakba time. It's like the Purge, where everyone's like, all right, neighbor, see you later. And then once the clock hits 12, the sirens start going off, and all of the Israelis are like, all right, got to get the fuck out of this neighborhood now. No Palestinians allowed. The day before the Nakba. What a perfect epitomization of Ethan Klein's ignorance.
Palestinians were living at home?
What?
I said Palestinians were living at home?
Yeah, Ethan, what happened the day before the Nakba? Maybe your Lebanese employee has a little bit more of an understanding than you do on this regard.
Well, sure.
Yep.
And you know what else happened? Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, all invaded Israel to kill everybody there. They unilaterally there was.
Okay, you stupid bitch. No, they didn't. Look. In May of 1948, one day after the Israeli Declaration of Independence, this was in May of 1948, the Nakba started in November of 1947. The Arab League militarily intervened in the civil war by invading the by then former British Mandate territory to support the Arab Palestinians. The Nakba started while it was still British Mandate Israel and Palestine. On May 15th, the Arab League declared war. That was the day after Israel gained independence on May 14th, when the British pulled out of Israel and they gave it over to Israel. So, no, dude, like, it had been going on for 6 months by that point. What are you dude, he's just so wrong. And he's, once again, according to Ethan, the day before the Nakba, Arabs and Israel, like, let's just go into Ethan's version of Frumpyland from Rick and Morty, where the Israeli propagandists have constructed this magical world full of rainbow rivers and cotton candy clouds and spongy ground where Ethan can never hurt himself. All of the carrots are just mush so he won't give himself a fucking infection in his thumb when he's trying to cut a carrot open and almost die. Let's live in this imaginary land that Ethan Klein exists in. In Ethan's mind, the Arabs and the Palestinians, or the Arabs and the Israelis, the Palestinians and the Israelis, are like not Israelis at that point because Israel wasn't a country yet, but it was the Palestinians and the Jewish settlers, the Zionist settlers in Palestine were just living peacefully side by side. There had been no ethnic cleansings yet. It was just like the Zionist settlers came down to Palestine and they're like, that's a mighty fine piece of land you have there. Would you mind me purchasing it from you at a fair market price? And the Palestinian farmer in his village would be like, oh yes, my brother, come, we'll drink tea and I'll show you how to farm, and we'll have like the Middle Eastern version of Thanksgiving when the white settlers came over to America. So they're just chilling, and all of a sudden, the Arab League, it's like the Fire Nation, all of a sudden, the Arab League of Nations attacked. And that caused the Israelis to do the Nakba on the Palestinians. It was the day before the Nakba, the Arab League of Nations attacked. Suddenly, the Arab League of Nations attacked, and the world was thrown into chaos. And because they're a scrappy, industrious group of settlers that just were defending themselves, they just got a little too zealous in fighting the Arab League of Nations, and they couldn't discern between the Egyptians and the Syrians and the Lebanese and the Iranians, and they accidentally cleansed the area of Palestinians as well, just to defend their land. They're like, no, my neighbor, I didn't know. It's like fucking Jon Snow when he was defending Castle Black from the wildlings, and he sees the egret was shot. No, I didn't mean to do this. If only I could take it back. I just got too zealous in my defense of the homeland.
5 Arab countries that unilaterally unified to invade Israel and kill every fucking person there or remove them forcibly. It was the invading fucking Arab armies that told the
It was the invading fucking Arab armies. I love that Ethan Klein still keeps up the fucking Arab meme.
Palestinians to leave and come back when the war was over. They thought they were going to steamroll all the Jews living there.
Oh, I get it. So the Palestinians weren't forcibly ethnically cleansed from the region. It wasn't that 150,000 Palestinians were created by May 15th, like what Elon Pape said. Elon Pape, he's just a historian. He's just an Israeli historian. What does he know? I'm sure Ethan Klein and ChatGPT, the dynamic duo, can trounce Elon Pape in a historical debate of the creation of Israel. But according to Elon Pape, 150,000 Palestinian refugees were already ethnically cleansed from Gaza, or from Palestine, by the time that the Arab nations attacked Israel. They saw that there was a refugee crisis, 150,000 Palestinian refugees, and then they attacked. That's according to a historian of Israeli history, right? But according to Ethan, the Arab nations attacked and they said, don't worry, Palestinians, we're going to take care of the Israelis for you. You leave your house. So it wasn't the Zionist settlers that ethnically cleansed the Palestinians. It was the Arab nations telling the Palestinians that it was okay to leave while we do our business with the Israelis, and then you can come back and take your house. So actually, those 150,000 Palestinian refugees that existed before the Arab League of Nations attacked, that was probably just like a extra decimal point. That was probably just a smudge. Though they didn't exist in Ethan Klein's mind. In reality, what happened is the Israelis were just defending themselves. The Arab League of Nations said, Palestinians, get out of there. And then the Palestinians just never came back. And so after the intrepid Israelis defended themselves, what are they supposed to do? Just let these houses go to waste? Just keep these Palestinian villages as ghost towns? No, they had to rebuild. They had to populate these areas. Of course, why not? That's Ethan Klein's mind. The Israelis were just hapless victims of circumstance, and they found themselves in a land without a people. And so, of course, they did their best to honor the Palestinians that were there before them. by taking over their territory and killing them all, right?
They didn't. They lost the war, and a lot of the Palestinians who were told to leave and come back never got to come back home. Now a lot of Palestinians did stay in Israel, and those people are citizens today. 2 million plus of them live in Israel.
So gross to refer to the 2 million citizens of the 2 million Palestinians of Israel as an act of benevolence of the Israeli government. Ethan Klein, why were the Palestinians that left not allowed to return? Answer me that. If it was the Arab League of Nations that said, hey, Palestinians, get out of this area while we invade and then you can return, then why were they not allowed to return once the war was over, Ethan? Was it really the Arab League of Nations that told the Palestinians to leave? Or was it the Israelis that forced them to leave in the first place because they wanted their land? Dude, you're a monster. You're actually, this is like darker than what a villain would be in a movie. The justification of a genocide is shit that doesn't even get highlighted, like doesn't even get greenlit in Hollywood as a movie villain. You're just evil, man.
Proper, which I think is the correct term, not greater Israel, which is something else. It's funny, there's a clip of Frogan even saying like, my family lost their house in the Nakba. They were told to leave. They were told to leave and come back.
Yeah.
So like,
So who wasn't letting them? Why did they not come back, Ethan? Why did the Palestinians that were told to leave not come back?
Important fucking context there that explains at least, not to justify, not to moralize, because the Jews did steal land. They did forcibly remove, banish, etc. Ethnically cleanse Israel after that. Absolutely. There was 8.
How do you ethnically cleanse a land if the Palestinians were already told to leave by the Arab states? Seems like there were still Palestinians there that the Jews ethnically cleansed, that they banished.
800,000 people that were ethnically cleansed in the wake of the war. Absolutely. There was 800,000 people that were ethnically cleansed in the wake of the war that happened there, right?
The wake of the war.
But people, and again...
You were ethnically cleansed in the wake of the war. No, it was an ethnic cleansing that caused the war, and that ethnic cleansing never stopped. And they were ethnically cleansed in the wake of the war. So fucking disgusting.
There was a very significant event that happened one day before the Nakba.
What are you talking about? Like, I've made this point before. But what do you mean one day before the Nakba? What does he think the Nakba was? Does he think the Nakba was like the fucking shot heard around the world in the American Revolutionary War, where it was a standoff between American troops and British troops, and then one guy accidentally fired, and that's what started the entire battle? Is that what he thinks it was? It was just like guys in their powdered wigs and crisp cut uniforms lining up in rows and having nice little shooting matches at each other. That's what he thinks the Nakba was.
Nobody fucking talks about. They want to say, oh, October 7th happened, everything happened way before October 7th. It's like, yeah, how far do you want to go back? You know? What day did the Nakba happen? Look at this. The Nakba, it takes place on May 15th.
No, it doesn't. That's when the Arab League of Nations declared war. If you look up anything, the Nakba started before May 18th. That's when Israel became an independent state on May 14th.
Okay. What was that?
Yeah, I was saying the date.
And then when was the Israeli War of Independence? Start. May. When did you say the Nakba was?
May 14th, 1948.
The Israeli War of Independence, May 15th, 1948.
Wait, let me.
There's two signs.
So that's a day after what you said, you bitch. Like, you said that the Nakba happened the day after the war started, but you're saying now that the Nakba happened a day before the war started. Dude, are you like, it's numbers. This is it's elementary. It's a calendar. It's elementary school stuff, man.
before October 7th. It's like, yeah, how far do you want to go back? You know? What day did the Nakba happen? Look at this. The Nakba, it takes place on May 15th.
The Nakba takes place on May 15th.
1948.
What was that?
Yeah, I was saying the date.
And then when was the Israeli War of Independence? Start. May, when did you say the Nakba was?
May 14th, 1948.
The Israeli War of Independence, May 15th, 1948.
Ethan said it was May 15th. Like, dude, what are you trying to do, man? You're trying to say that the Arabs caused the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. That's not the case whatsoever. Even your own like bullshit research that you just did refutes that claim. You just said the Nakba happened on May 15th. Your producer said it happened on May 14th. Either way, May 15th or 14th, the Arab League of Nations attacked Israel on May 15th. Like, did the Nakba happen on May 14th and then the Arab League of Nations attacked the day after? Which, first of all, is bullshit to say anyway. The Nakba didn't happen on a day. It was a series of skirmishes that escalated into full-blown ethnic cleansing when the British mandate gave Israel independence. That's complete historical revisionism to say that it just happened on a single day.
Wait, let me...
There's two sides to this story.
There's two sides to the story of ethnically cleansing Palestinians from Palestine.
Not moralizing, not justifying, but I am just saying that all their neighbors tried to invade and kill and remove everybody.
That's a justification. Dude, like, look, Ethan, listen to me. You just said that the Israelis did ethnic cleansing in the wake of the war. That's what you said. They did ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in the wake of the war. If they did ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in the wake of the war, why did they do that? The war was over. They still did the Nakba after the war. What are you Why would you say that they did ethnic cleansing in the wake of the war and then be like, but actually they did ethnic cleansing because of the war? They did ethnic cleansing the day after the war started. But then if the war was like, dude, these countries declaring war on Israel doesn't justify the ethnic cleansing, and you're trying to make it seem like it does. You're trying to be like, well, they did the ethnic cleansing because they were attacked. It's irrelevant. Why are you harping on that issue, even though it's misinformation and it's not true in the slightest? You're just making up lies. Why do you feel the need to make up these lies? Because it seems like you are trying to justify the ethnic cleansing of it.
There. So yeah, they're going to have some type of feeling about that. You know, and it persists to this day because Israelis are...
You're going to have some type of feeling about ethnically cleansing Palestinians?
There's two sides to this story. Not moralizing, not justifying, but I am just saying that all their neighbors tried to invade and kill and remove everybody there. So yeah, they're going to have some type of feeling about that. You know, and it persists to this day because Israelis are...
What do you mean? They did ethnic cleansing. That's irrelevant, man. Do you think the Japanese internment camps in World War II were a good idea that America did? What are you talking about?
Who were born there, 80% of the Israelis living there were born there. Their families, their parents, their grandparents fought in these wars. This is fresh. This isn't like the Holocaust happened so long ago. You know, oh, we're so sorry this thing happened to you. Time to shut up and move on. This is fresh. You know?
I don't even know what he's talking about right now. The only thing that I can take from this that would give me any kind of sense, that would make any kind of sense of what he's saying, is he's explaining why Israelis are genociding Palestinians now and why they genocided Palestinians in the wake of the war, according to him, right? It's bad either way. I don't care why they're doing it. Like, it's good to understand why so we can prevent it in the future. But it's happening now. We should try to be stopping it now. We don't have to explain their emotional state to understand why they're doing it. Let's just not give them any fucking weapons. And I don't hear you saying that, dude. I don't hear you turning your show into an advocate platform to try to get your massive audience to call Congress to tell them to stop sending weapons to Israel to do genocide with. What the fuck are we talking about, dude? What are we talking about? if you don't like the anti-Semitism of people saying that Israelis and Jews control the government and that's why we're sending weapons to Israel, then you should help America to stop send weapons to Israel, because it both lessens the amount of anti-Semitism and lessens the credence that that anti-Semitism has in the eyes of impressionable viewers, and it stops the genocide. It's a win-win. And yet you're sitting here ignoring all of that, letting anti-Semitism fester under your watch, and just focusing on the emotional state of the genociding oppressors. Imagine a guy talking about the Nazis genociding Jews in the Holocaust and being like, well, I think it's really important to understand why they're feeling this way while they're still getting killed. While it's still happening, not a historian going back and trying to understand why, like, Hitler's rise to power and his scapegoating of the Jews so that we can recognize it and prevent it in the future, but while it's still going on.
This is not a fucking healed wound, okay? So everybody in the Middle East is it's getting fucked, right?
I don't give a fuck if people are wounded because their grandfather did war crimes and that caused the neighboring countries to want to try to end the war crimes. I'm sorry, I don't give a single fuck about that.
It's horrible. There's war. There's a conflict. There's ethnic cleansing. It's this continual shit show. And there's a genocide happening.
And I think that's the first time he said it's genocide. Famously, like, against Hassan and Sam Cedar, he's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a genocide happening right now. Wow, there is a genocide happening, Ethan? Maybe you should talk about it more then.
It's this continual shit show. And there's a genocide happening to Gazans, you know?
To Gazans.
Just a horrific fucking development.
It's to Palestinians. It's also happening in the West Bank. Not as bad, but Palestinians in the West Bank are getting ethnically cleansed as well. But according to Ethan, it's just to Gazans, you know? Doing a good job of keeping up that historical revisionism and erasing Palestinian history from the region, Ethan. Love to see it.
And what Netanyahu and they're all doing there.
What are they doing there, Ethan? Do you even know? Have you covered the extensive starvation campaign they've been going on? Have you interviewed any doctors that have gone over to Palestine? I'm sure they'd love to come onto the show to talk with you about it. Have you looked at any kind of news articles recently? Covered the 5 Al Jazeera journalists that were just murdered in Israel the other day, assassinated when your own guest highlighted them as working with Hamas, and then a few months later they were assassinated by Israel. Have you covered that? Maybe you want to, because there is a genocide going on and you have a pretty big platform that you can actually talk about the horrific things that are happening there. It's not like your show is lighthearted anymore. You've been tackling anti-Semitism for the past year and a half now. Like, come on, let's put that platform to good use, buddy, because I don't think you're actually doing a good job of targeting anti-Semitism either.
Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready to send Netanyahu to the I'm ready to fucking, I don't know if I can say this, but that guy should be, right? Like, I'm right there with you guys. Let's put him on the...
You think you're the only one? Have you seen all the protests in Israel?
Him and his...
Nobody in Israel supports what he's doing. Nobody.
That's the thing, too. It's pure
there's
social chaos. Like, you know, Netanyahu wants to occupy the entire Gaza Strip. It's just chaos, right?
People have been on the street all day, every day. I mean, nobody supports what he's doing.
Just a quick correction. I'm seeing that people commemorate the Nakba on May 15th, but it started in 1947. That's what I'm saying.
Why do they commemorate it on May 15th?
That's because that's when the Arab League of Nations attacked Israel.
This catastrophe. Not sure why on that day.
That doesn't really make sense.
The Nakba was one incident. It happened all at once.
What? Bro, what the fuck are you talking? That? I'm actually speechless. That blew my mind that he just said that. No, Ethan, dude, he's actually an idiot. He's actually a moron. He sees that people celebrate the Nakba on May 15th to commemorate it, which, by the way, is illegal for Israeli government funds to go to commemorating the Nakba in Israel. Because but they have equal rights, right? That's part of Israeli history. Nah, dude. They try to erase Palestinian history. Okay. Ethan, did you know that America celebrates its independence on July 4th? That means its war for independence took place all at once on one day. It was just on July 4th. Bro, I'm losing it. I'm actually losing it. He just said that the Nakba took place all at once after he's been on this long fucking rant about how Israelis did ethnic cleansing in the wake of the war that caused the Nakba. How do you do ethnic cleansing in the wake of a war that caused the Nakba if the Nakba happened all at once and it happened on the day that the war was declared? Oh my god, guys, I'm going to do this one more time, okay? Like, very, very easily. November 1947 to May 1948, small-scale local skirmishes began on the 30th of November and gradually escalated until March 1948. So that is beginning on November 30th, gradually escalating until March 1948, when the violence started. Palestinians had already begun fleeing, expecting to return after the war. That's in what? Let's count it out. November, December, January, February, March. That's 5 months already before it actually even escalated further. The massacre and expulsion of the Palestinian Arabs and destruction of the villages began in December, including massacres at Al-Qisas, the 18th of December, and Balad al-Sheikh, the 31st of December. By March, between 70,000 and 100,000 Palestinians, mostly middle and upper class urban elites, were expelled or fled. 100,000 Palestinians, 70,000 minimum Palestinians were already expelled before we even get into the year, or before we even get into the day that Ethan Klein thinks the Nakba started. So he thinks 100,000 Palestinians had fled Palestine before the Nakba even started, according to Ethan Klein. By March of 1948, 100,000 Palestinians were gone. And according to Ethan, it was May 15th when the Nakba started. So he's just completely ignoring this 100,000 Palestinians. According to Ilan Pappé, 150,000 Palestinian refugees existed by May 15th, 1948, which is when Ethan Klein thinks the Nakba started. In early April 1948, the Israelis launched Plan Dalet, a large-scale offensive to capture land and empty it of Palestinian Arabs. In April of 1948, that's a month before May of 1948, which is when Ethan thinks the Nakba happened, they launched a large-scale offensive to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from Palestine. During the offensive, Israel captured and cleared land that was allocated to the Palestinians by the UN partition resolution. Over 200 Palestinians were destroyed during this period. Massacres and expulsions continued, including at Deir Yassin. Major Palestinian cities were depopulated, including Tiberias, Haifa, Acre, Safed, and Jaffa, and the Palestinian Arab neighborhood in West Jerusalem. Israel began engaging in biological warfare in April and poisoned the water supplies of certain towns and villages. In May, one such operation caused a typhoid epidemic in Acre, while another attempt in Gaza was foiled by the Egyptians. Under intense public anger over Palestinian losses and seeking to take Palestinian territory for themselves in order to counter the Israeli-Jordanian deal, the remaining Arab League states decided in late April and early May to enter the war after the British left. However, armies of the newly independent Arab League states were still weak and unprepared for war, and none of the Arab League states were interested in the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Amin al-Husseini at its head. Neither the expansionist King Abdullah I of Jordan nor the British wanted the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. On the 14th of May, the mandate formally ended. That's when Israel gained independence. On the 14th of May, the last British troops left, and Israel declared independence. All of this, there was 150,000 Palestinians expelled from Palestine by the time the British left. By that time, Palestinian society was destroyed, and over 300,000 Palestinians had been expelled or fled. So according to this other source, Ilan Pappé was undercounting it. Most of the 400,000 Palestinians who lived in those areas had become refugees before the intervention of the Arab armies began. According to Mana 2022, Nakba and Survival, the story of Palestinians who remained in Haifa and the Galilee. But according to Ethan, it didn't. How does he, like, let's just play a little bit more of this. How is he saying that the Nakba happened all at once?
People have been on the street all day, every day. I mean, nobody supports what he's doing.
Just a quick correction. I'm seeing that people commemorate the Nakba on May 15th, but it started in 1947. That's what I'm saying.
Look at how nervous
Why do they
AB
commemorate it
is.
on May 15th?
This catastrophe. Not sure why on that day.
That doesn't really
The
make
Nakba
sense.
was one incident. It
Yeah.
happened all at
Okay.
once. And it happened on May 15th, like it said, on 1948.
Holy shit, he actually thinks the Nakba was like a one kind of massacre that took place over a day. I was joking. I was seriously joking when I said, when I was making fun of him for thinking it took place just on one day. Like saying the war for American independence took place on July 4th. But no, he genuinely believes the Nakba took place on one day. What is going on in his mind, man? Does he think the Nakba was like a group of... I'm so confused. Does he think the Nakba was a group of like Israeli militiamen going around a neighborhood kicking out Palestinians? What does he think it was? Like, I thought he was on the same page. He said that they did ethnic cleansing of Palestinians after the war. What does he think that was? He thinks the Nakba was just the day that the Arab League of Nations declared war on Israel?
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the next stuff, which is the expulsion.
So that's it. You know, there's people want to look at this conflict like bad and good.
Bro, I'm like, dude, you don't even know what the Nakba was, and you're saying that there's nuanced angles to look at it? You think I don't know what he thinks it was. He thinks it was just like a massacre of a Palestinian village, I guess, that took place over one day that was instigated by the Arabs, by the Arab nations attacking Israel.
Good. Now, what Netanyahu's doing at this point is obviously evil, right? There's no bad and good in this situation. But Hamas, also bad. Hamas, October 7th, also bad.
Bro, no, you can't say Hamas is as bad as Netanyahu. Like, you can't talk about Netanyahu and then in the same breath say that Hamas is as bad. That's... especially you, dude, when you've spent the majority of your time like shitting on leftists that have been advocating against Netanyahu and Israel.
There's this clip of Hassan where he's sitting there with that guy who's in every terrible clip, MNP or whatever. And he goes, why is Israel bombing Lebanon? And Hassan goes, because they're there. Okay. Anyway, that's all
Man, Ethan making a point that he thinks will get people to laugh at him and then just being greeted with silence will never stop being funny. Okay, so the title of this stream is Ethan Klein's audience finally turns on him, and we need to check out some of this shit. So we have people actually correcting Ethan. Sorry, Ethan's not correct about the Nakba happening all on one day. It was a long series of massacres and attacks to conquer Palestinian land and homes throughout 1947 and 48. I think it took place over 9 months. Nakba Day is May 15th because it's one day after Israel's declared independence, May 14th, but the violence by future Israeli settlers occurred for years and decades leading up to it. Rashid Khalidi's 100 Years of War on Palestine is really great on this period. A local historian and societal expert himself, his father and many extended relatives were also historians, lawyers, and community leaders in historic Palestine into the 1800s. He's a great resource for understanding the several years were leading up to it and following the Nakba. This is snark. Stop pointing out facts and snarking. How dare you say facts? Honestly surprised this comment is still up. While we're at it, I'd highly recommend On Palestine by Chomsky and Ilan Pape, and maybe The First Israelis or The Seventh Million by Israeli historian Tom Segev. Ethan and AB are immune to research. Okay, next question about the Nakba. The Nakba rant was crazy. Like, he just brought it up out of nowhere and is like, this is actually a very nuanced issue, and then it declares that he has no idea what the Nakba was. The Nakba was one event. The Nakba was one event is a common and fundamental misunderstanding of the term. The pioneering settler colonialist theorist Patrick Wolf once wrote that invasion is a structure, not an event. That's what the Nakba was. Like, actually getting called out by his audience. Nakba rant was crazy. Okay, and then there was some other stuff too that I wanted to see. My words of Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, this is also funny. It's I cannot be the only one that notices that Ethan's fits of coughing between every 3 words always occurs when he starts talking Warzone and then dissipates after and isn't there as strong before. All this conflict is not good for his health. His body is literally trying to expel this shitty energy from his body. Like, his fans are like, dude, you are literally dying, Ethan. Please stop focusing on all of this hate and drama with other YouTubers. Like, dude, when your audience is like, you're fucking sitting there dying. Ethan is completely incorrect about the Nakba, like dangerously incorrect. This is why people call you a Zionist, Ethan. It's shit like this episode. Yeah, dude, he is a Zionist. 100%. Your own fans are calling you out about your dangerous misinformation that you're spreading. Even this, no, Dan, the Young Turks did not overthrow the Ottoman Empire. The Young Turks were interested in reforming the Ottoman Empire from within without replacing and limiting the Sultan's power and influence. So that's just a correction. I thought we'd get some actual Young Turk stuff with like correcting the misinformation that they're doing. What? Ethan's cough is starting to trigger me by episode by episode. Whole Warzone segment is so hard to watch. Every time I skip forward, it's another cough into the mic. I can't handle it. I love the show. I hate needing to skip. They're just like, Ethan, you laugh so much when you're being a genocidal freak. You are wrong. H3 podcast. Anna and Cenk addressed the Armenian genocide, and you didn't just imply but directly stated Cenk still believes in the genocide. Cenk doesn't even like the Turkish government, and he had a genuine about face. He talked about how he grew up with Turkish propaganda and took him a while to realize the truth as he had to deprogram himself from it. And I'm no Cenk fan either, but you need to be a little bit more humble yourself. You use the N-word liberally a lot more recently when Cenk changes his position on the Armenian genocide, but you don't give him the same grace you expect from others for yourself. Get a grip, dude. You have both grown, be kind. You have both grown, be kind. Cenk and Anna have never been mean to you. They're criticizing Apex control over Congress, which is remarkably true. The same way they criticize the NRA. They aren't being inconsistent. Like, so guys, cough, cough. Denim's cough is the dumbest person alive, cough. Dude, you're turning into like a lol count by your audience. This is what Brendan Schaub and his little sidekick turned into. And then we guys, I'm going to call this soon, but we just need to finish this up with this. Just like listening to his audience lambast him for being a fucking idiot. The problem is people have misused the Nakba often. Sometimes people refer to it as the people being displaced by Israel after Israel officially established itself as a state, while a lot of others refer to it as the overall displacement that preceded and succeeded after Israel's establishment. Yeah, this is... I mean, the Nakba, either way, it didn't take place on one fucking day, like what Ethan said. The energy feels super off today. We need a separate political show, TBH. No one liked political talk on regular show before Leftovers. I have the same feeling. When Ethan was going off on Anna, it was sounding like what people say about AB. Granted, AB has done nothing wrong and the pod isn't named after a genocide, but it sounds the same. The coughing is concerning. It gets worse when he's dealing with stressful topics. Takes get worse when you're stressed, so it's unfortunately expected. It's also a self-perpetuating problem. The more he has to take, the more it irritates, the worse it gets. Like, dude, these people are actually just like starting to cop up to Ethan's bullshit. Enthusiastically reading an Islamophobe's tweet while using it as support for his anti-Semitism criticism, then quickly adding, "Oh, I don't agree with that last part," and moving on is hilariously ironic and hypocritical shit. This kind of shit is why I cannot take Ethan's opinions on these matters seriously and why there's more and more fallen fans. How are you still losing fans, Ethan? How are you still losing fans like almost a year into you attacking Hassan, and you are finding ways to be even more depraved and more genocidal, so blatantly so that the people that have still been with you, that think Hassan is working and paid by terrorist organizations, are now like, dude, you're actually just doing disgusting genocide propaganda and you know nothing about what you're talking about. You look like you're dying. Please stop engaging in this petty drama and get some help. they're even getting criticized on AI. Horrible take on AI. No idea why H3 is so pro AI. Like, oh my god, dude. I just, even just like the way that his show is set up, I wish Ethan would just log his own IG stories to their staff Discord or something. Relying on AB to do it is just weirdly inefficient. There's almost one or two missing. There's almost always one or two missing. It kind of derails an entire segment / thought process. Like, you have so many producers. Why are you making your producer get your Instagram stories? They're your Instagram stories. Okay, guys, I wanted to talk about some other shit, but I gotta go to bed. Let's see. What copyright-free music is there that I can play as an outro? Yeah, let's just do what I played yesterday. I need to record this and get it so I can play it easily just through my OBS, but I'm gonna play this as the outro. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Once again, like, Ethan Klein, extremely embarrassing. It's fun to cover, but it's really bad. It's really bad the way that he treats his audience. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you liked the stream, please consider joining as a member. It helps encourage me, helps me pay my producers. Thank you so much for all of your comments, and everyone, have a great rest of your night.